Everybody's Mike. Welcome to the 278th Five for Friday Legal Ethics Quiz. I'm doing it by video this week, which is new. I'm not certain that'll become a regular thing, but I wanted to try. Also, I wanted to force myself to get back out here and record a video. Last week, you may have seen, I started the Morning Grounds video series, which is me coming in here early in the morning to do what I love to do best in the summer, which is sit out here super early, have a cup of coffee, but also do some videos where I just share some thoughts related to legal ethics and professional responsibility. I did 2 last week. I didn't do any this week. So this is me forcing myself this week to get back at it, to hopefully make these videos, at least during the summer, a habit. I apologize for the sound quality. I know I need a new microphone. I haven't gotten one yet. Okay, so today's introduction. I want to talk about an area in which I'm concerned that there's an increasing amount of misconduct. And it's misconduct that's associated with several different duties. I'm going to talk about the duty of competence. I'm going to talk about, there's a rule that prohibits lawyers from, being unfair to opposing counsel or opposing parties. There's another rule that prohibits conduct that's prejudicial to the administration of justice. And I'm also going to mention the rule that prohibits unreasonable fees, in particular double billing. I'm going to refer to. So the area where I'm concerned that there are increasing levels of misconduct is what I've been seeing in the self-checkout line at my grocery store. Now, I know you're probably thinking, what are you talking about, Mike? It's such an insignificant problem. Yeah, maybe it is. But there's a lot of misconduct there. I'll get into it in a second. And if we don't address misconduct that's seemingly small because it's too small to address, we let this go, we let that go, we let this go, then we're down that slippery slope to anarchy. And I don't want to go down that slope. I don't want to be near anarchy. So I'm going to make my stand here. So I have 2 pet peeves when it comes to the self-checkout. So my store is the Hannafords here in Williston. And in the self-checkout line, everybody stands in one line, and then there are 4 self-checkout registers. When you're at the front of the line, go to whichever of the 4 opens next. We're pretty good at that. I have no concerns about the conduct in the line. Where I have concern number 1 is this. The sign in the line says self-checkout express. Okay. Now, in the law, as many of you legal professionals know, there's a rule of statutory construction that we will give words their plain meaning. When we're figuring out what a statute means, we will give words their plain meaning, assign to words their plain meaning. We also will assume that the drafters, say the legislature, Congress, whoever, they meant to include the words that they included. To me, express has plain meaning. And I think it's best defined by what it isn't. And that's your entire grocery cart full of groceries. That's not express. Very, very simple. And the people who run Hannafords, if they had meant for just anybody to come through the self-checkout line, the sign would say self-checkout. It wouldn't say self-checkout express. They meant something by adding that. And I think what they meant is clear. Don't come in this line if you have a regular grocery cart full of groceries. There are lots of other lines for you. This line is for people who have just one of the hand carts or things that they can carry in their hands. Okay. Now, I suppose there's an argument that, well, maybe they didn't mean that. And that argument is I understand would be based on this. Right next to the self-checkout express line is the regular checkout express line. The express line where there's a person working there doing, scanning the groceries and collecting the money that you owe. That line says 14 items or fewer. The self-checkout express line does not say 14 items or fewer. So the argument would be, well, if they put it on that sign over there, in this aisle over here where it doesn't say 14 items or fewer, that means you can have more than 14 items. I'd give you that. What it doesn't mean is that you can have an entire grocery cart full of items. And this problem, that's not fair to opposing shoppers to come into this line with too many groceries. And the extra time it takes, it takes extra time just because you have too many groceries to begin with. But inevitably, what does the person who comes in with a full grocery cart to this line also have? Inevitably, they have like usually a fruit or vegetable that nobody knows what it is or what it costs. It's one that's rarely on sale in the store. They don't always have it, like the bok choy or the rutabagas or whatever. Nobody could find it on the list, the lookup item list, and it just causes delay. Somebody has to come over. They don't know what it is either. They have to call the shift supervisor. That person has to walk out to the produce aisle and figure out what it is, what it costs. Delay. Conduct prejudicial to the administration of shopping, violation of the duty of fairness to opposing shoppers. That's my take. Second pet peeve. This applies to people who, even to people who belong in the line. They have the appropriate number of groceries, like one of those hand carts, hand carry things. That's it. And that's the people who they have their bags, or even if they're going to use one of the bags, pay a dime to use one of the bags that's there. But for some reason, they don't use their bags immediately. Instead, they do this: scan, put their item down, scan their milk, put the milk down on the shelf, scan the juice, put it down, scan the bread, put it down, scan the eggs, put them down, pay, then look and go, oh, now I have to put all my stuff into a bag to carry it to my car. Then they take out their bag, or they take the one that they got to pay a dime for, and they start putting the stuff into the bags. Makes no sense to me. You always knew before you started checking out that you weren't going to be able to carry this stuff out. You were going to need a bag. In fact, you brought your reusable bag with you. Yet you kept it folded up wherever, in your hand cart or in your wherever. Only once you had already paid did you decide, oh yeah, now I will put my stuff into my bag. When you could have just put the empty bag down before you started scanning, scanned your groceries, and put them into the bag. By not doing that, by doing it the first way, scan them all, then bag them at the end, double billing. That's like doing the work twice that only needed to be done once. Unreasonable fee, unreasonable amount of time spent doing the work that's required to get out of the store. Don't do that. Okay, I think that's a violation of the unreasonable amount of time rule. It's also a violation of the duty of competence. It's a violation of the rule that requires fairness to opposing shoppers, and it's conduct prejudicial to the administration of shopping, again, and it just bollockses up the line. So those are my two pet peeves. Don't go in the self-checkout express line if you don't have an express load. Once in the line, let's only touch the items once. Let's only scan them and put them into the bag. Let's not do it twice. Scan down, scan everything else, then pick everything up, put it into the bag. Okay? It's these little things that if we address will prevent the descent into anarchy. Nobody wants to be in anarchy. All right? Thank you. On to the quiz. Okay, I'll share my screen for the quiz. Here we go. 5 for Friday, number 278. Question number 1. So last week, I did a picture last week. It was kind of unfair of me. It's not an intuitive answer. So I decided to go back with one this week that I think is a little easier. I used this picture to address which of the 7 C's of legal ethics. And that's me in my office, Burlington, Vermont. Which of the 7 C's am I getting at there? You can email your answers to michael.kennedy@vermont.gov. Michael, remember, is spelled M-I-C-H-A-E-L. Question 2. The rule that prohibits unreasonable fees includes an exception for, quote, any fee agreed to by the client. Is that statement A, true? B, false? C, this exception exists, but it only applies in contingent fee cases. Or D, true, but it also states that the client must have been given a reasonable amount of time to seek independent legal advice before agreeing to the fee. So which is it? The rule that prohibits unreasonable fees includes an exception to, quote, any fee agreed to by the client. This is one that I threw in there for readers of the blog. Actually mentioned it 2 days ago at a seminar for CADIC. Great job, Liz Smith, organizing that one. And I'm going to mention it today at a seminar I'm doing with Andy Delaney for the Vermont Association for Justice. Question 3. There is a rule that prohibits lawyers from advising or assisting clients to violate the law. A comment to Vermont's rule provides an exception for lawyers who advise clients about Vermont's regulatory scheme related to a particular product or industry. What product or industry? I haven't blogged about this one, I think maybe about a month ago, to warn lawyers, hey, don't jump into this industry just because you think it's cool. There's a lot of complicated issues that come up for people who are participating in this industry. And my point is with this question is that you do not violate the rule that prohibits lawyers from advising or assisting clients to violate the law by giving clients advice on Vermont's regulatory scheme related to this industry or product. Question 4. Lawyer called me with an inquiry. I listened, then replied. I'm going to go to do an aside here. You know, the first brother, blogged about him, mentioned him often. He is dying for the day that one of these questions says, the lawyer called me with an inquiry. I didn't listen. He wants me to do that. I'm never going to do that, but I think it's funny. Anyway, lawyer called me with an inquiry. I listened, then replied. Actually, there's an exception to the rule that allows you to do so in a post-judgment action to collect spousal maintenance. The exception is a great tool to increase access to legal services for those who can't otherwise afford a lawyer. What does the exception allow a lawyer to do in a post-judgment action to collect spousal maintenance? This one could be tricky, could be hard. It's a specific area of the law, but I think, like I say in the question, it's a good tool to provide representation to people who otherwise can't afford it. And, you know, if you're looking to expand your horizons and do work, maybe a low bono case for someone who needs help, this is not terribly complicated and might be an area that no matter the area of law you practice, you could slip into. So what is it when you're doing a post-judgment action to collect spousal maintenance that you are allowed to do that I guess perhaps that you wouldn't be allowed to do in the original action itself? And question 5. A South Carolina lawyer was disbarred in July of 2022. Earlier this year, the same lawyer was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The former lawyer's legal troubles continue. Recently, lawyers representing the disbarred lawyer asked a federal court to vacate a confession of judgment in which the disbarred lawyer admitted to stealing $4.3 million in insurance proceeds that should have gone to the estate of the disbarred lawyer's deceased housekeeper. The housekeeper died under mysterious circumstances at the disbarred lawyer's house, allegedly after falling down the stairs. Sorry about the airplane. The attorney for the housekeeper's estate filed a motion in opposition to a request to vacate the confession of judgment. According to news reports, the attorney argued that the request to vacate was the legal equivalent of "may I have a mulligan," and added that the disbarred lawyer and his legal team had, quote, golf analogies here, may I have a mulligan, stumbled late on the judicial first tee with a small bucket of balls and with the apparent attempt to fire shots until they finally hit the fairway. Obviously, the disbarred lawyer is not a golfer. Neither are his lawyers. There are no mulligans. The motion in opposition characterized the disbarred lawyer's request to vacate as like a spoiled child, overindulged and undisciplined. Name the disbarred lawyer. So there's the first part of the question. Actually, you can just rewind on the video. I don't have to wait. Anyway, those are my thoughts on, you know, ensuring the integrity of the self-checkout line, self-checkout express line at the grocery store, and then the quiz questions. Again, michael.kennedy@vermont.gov. On Monday, I will post the answers and the honor roll. Hope you have a great weekend, and thanks for listening. Bye.